Can you see me now?
Yeah, I'm able to see that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hi, Sunil. Good evening. Uh, I
Hi, sir.
made you the presenter. Now you can share your screen, I think.
Sure, sir. Definitely. I'll just rejoin, sir. Sorry for the trouble. I'll just rejoin.
Sure, sure. Sorry.
Daddy, ఇది ఉంటే కట్ చేసి తీసాను ఆయిల్ రాసి
Hi, sir. The share function is not enabled for me.
One minute. I'm making you again as a presenter. One second.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Yes, now I could. Hello,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, it's visible now.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Uh, that is a home page. That is a first slide.
Not exactly, sir. Just okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, and sorry for being late. I was just trying to figure
No,
out.
I will take 1 more minute, please, with Sunil.
Sure. No problem, sir.
Uh, Good
Please.
evening, all. First, I want to say thank you for accepting this evening again. I know you people are busy with some other works. You analysts always busy with some meetings or some other things like. I thank you, Sunil, for accepting first of all. Now I have to brief about our activities. Actually, this group was made for IEEE Computer Society for Vizag section. So I am the chair for Computer Society chapter, and we have a team of people which we are going to do all these kind of activities for student members and professional members. Not only for IEEE, we are extending our support to all non-IEEE members also, because they have to know what is the importance of IEEE so that they can join in these professional bodies, and they can have a good networks, so that if they have a good networks, definitely they have good careers in their life. For that reason, we are not mandate only for IEEE members, but most of the people are IEEE members only. The rest also we are extending, we are welcoming them for this platform. And on this chapter, we are regularly we are conducting so many expert talks in different domains in computer science. So, and we are extending our support to have active groups in some domains. The experts are ready to take them for internships, or they will give their challenges to these people so that they can do some activities for that experts. Like we are trying to make small active groups in this chapter so that they can learn with recent things. That is about our activities. Regularly, we are going to have these kind of sessions. All people are here is volunteer people only. They are extending their services for these activities. Coming to today's speakers, I want to introduce Sunil Kumar. Uh, I know he's a very busy person, but I want to really Sunil, I think you are the best for this particular session. Sunil Kumar is a data scientist at world largest retail and fortune number company Walmart, and he completed his masters from IIS Bangalore. And he's focused on machine learning and deep learning concepts, and he having some patents also. And apart from that, he's again a colleague to me before masters. He used to do some services to his uh, graduate in college, that is MVGR. Really, he's my student and he's a co-worker with me, and now he's a data analyst. Nowadays, you tell me, you name some domain or you name some field, without data, without analysis, we are not going to choose anything, right? So these people are the experts. How to handle the data. With that data, how you can make some sense of things, and how you can do all the reports kind of thing, or you can what exactly we are trying to have with the data. All these things can be done with this kind of experts. I really welcoming you, Sunil. I know you people are very experts on this, because you are handling the data, not with a small kind of data. It's like a huge kind of data you are handling, and you are making sensible reports daily. And with that, I think Walmart making so much of uh, like they are making very good reports on your data analysis. I think now I'm leaving this forum to you. Now you can deliver your what you are going to give for professional members and student members in this group.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir, for such a nice introduction. Um, thank you once again for each and everyone who joined this session. I hope you could learn something new and get something out of this session. So before before beginning, I just want to thank uh, initially, primarily the Sadish sir and the entire fraternity for giving me this opportunity. I am definitely excited about this. So my the so my agenda out of this session is primarily to focus on some of the applications, especially on the machine learning side in the retail industry. Although these applications will be applicable in any other industry as well. So you could pick any other industry and you will see that there is a similar application, similar to what we do in retail industry. Now, AI in general, artificial intelligence in general, we are all well aware that there is a lot of hype around it, and every day we hear from someone or the other that in some new domain, something people are going to implement artificial intelligence or machine learning and come up with something new. And there is no doubt that every industry is going to have AI in one way or the other form. Uh, some industries might pick it late, some industries might have started it early, but um very soon you will see that there is no industry which will be left without having AI. Now, so I am briefly going to cover why machine learning rather than what is machine learning. Second, I'm going to focus on some of the retail applications, and I'll try to go through one or two case studies depending on the time. And if time permits, I will probably show some cool applications which are non-retail, so that you will get to people who are interested, especially the students who wanted to work in the area of machine learning in future. They will feel, I think, you'll feel very fascinated to see those kind of applications. Awesome. Now, the reason I'm talking about why machine learning is pretty much simple, and probably some of you are already aware of it. But the idea for me to share this is primarily to all the students who are new to this area. Now, let's suppose before jumping into retail, let's consider a simple case. This is something you can find on Google Code Labs. Suppose if you want to recognize some activity, like what a person is doing while he is exercising or so. Let's say you want to track his fitness, his or her fitness, and you want to recognize what is the activity. Now, traditionally, if you imagine a scenario where there is no machine learning, what would have happened in general is, suppose if the person is, let's say, walking, for example, and we can assume that we have certain kind of data, let's say what is the speed at he or she is walking at, and some other attributes like age, weight, and all those things. Now, traditionally, what we would have done if there is no ML in place, we probably we will write some program like this. If speed is less than 4, we would say, okay, I have seen the person, he or she might be walking. Now, to recognize another activity as part of this fitness tracking, now let's say if she is running now, what would happen is that, okay, I'm going to consider speed. If it is less than 4, I would say she is walking. But if it is more than 4, I would consider her that she is running. Now, if I consider one more scenario, let's say she is going on a bicycle, taking a ride on bicycle. Now, okay, I would say now, if her speed is less than 12, she is running. But if it is going to be more than 12, she is doing the biking, going on a bike. So now the idea is that for every activity that we want to recognize, we need to create a new rule. You can consider this is a new rule. For example, if speed is less than 4, that's a rule. If speed is less than 12, what should happen is another rule. If speed is more than 12, what will happen is another rule. Now, if somebody who knows Java or C or C# or any other language typically would write some program like this to implement these tasks. Now, imagine if I add one more scenario. Now, let's say she is playing golf or something like that. Now, how would we change this program? The idea is that if we keep on adding more activities, let's say next time I want to add jogging, I want to add swimming, we will end up, writing so much big, huge code that we will never be able to write it in reality. This is just for activity recognition. Now imagine a scenario where we want to do it for all the so many tasks. It would be really difficult. Now, okay. So just to summarize, for all those who are new to machine learning in general, in the traditional program, if you have learned any programming language, what would have happened is that we define rules and we uh, provide some data to it, like the speed, or in the previous case, we have given speed as the input, and we obtain the answers, like, okay, whether she is running or whether she is swimming or whether she is walking. But in machine learning, the difference you would primarily see is, instead of defining the rules, we try to identify the rules through machine learning. So what we are doing differently here is that instead of me defining the rules as some code, now we are providing the data and we will come up with something, we call it as a model, which will be part of this orange box. If you see the left diagram, there are now these 4 activities have some sort of binary data, and each of them has some kind of a label, let's say walking, running, biking, so on. Now we want the algorithm to figure out, given enough data, what is, we want the algorithm itself to understand what's happening behind the scenes. And if we suppose give a new instance of that data, let's say, for example, this time I'm going to give swimming, assuming that there is also swimming in the previous data which we have given as input to the model, can the model figure out automatically that the new action I have given is swimming? Now, people, if I consider real life people images, they would be having so many pictures, and we need to, and if you think about an area of computer vision in machine learning, you would ideally analyze some millions of photos, pictures, and you would be developing a lot of highly complicated deep learning algorithms, and so that this model could be used to figure out what's happening in the pictures, right? Now, this is a very simple way to put what machine learning is. Now, there are standard definitions, a lot of books write in different ways, but the idea is we are not writing huge code anymore. What we are trying to do is, let me provide as much as data as I can, and given enough sophistication in building the model, I could potentially identify what's happening behind the scenes. All right. Now let's take another simpler example. Okay. So just as a note, I assume there will be a chat window somewhere, or even if that is not the case, yeah, I could see it. If you have any questions, please drop it in the chat window, or you can directly ask me. If you feel uncomfortable to ask, please drop in the chat window. I'll see once in a while and I'll try to answer it. Now, it's easy to specify several applications in AI because it's everywhere now. But let's try to see what's happening in real world, right? When we try to code it, how does it look like? Now, imagine this scenario. Let's take two variables, X and Y. Can somebody think of course, I have the solution here, but if we carefully look at it, probably we would figure out that these numbers actually represent a function called y equal to 3x plus 1. Now, what normally, while we code, we will define this function like a function which returns some 3 will be 3 into the input x plus 1. But now we are trying to figure out this 3 given this data x and y. Now, if you end up being in the area of machine learning, and if you want to know in reality, like how does it look rather than all these robots and other things, right? The sample code, for example, to do this program. So the idea is, given x and y, can I figure out what is the equation? Ideally, it would have been 3x plus 1. But to do that, we will write a program like this. Now, there is no need to understand this program at this moment. If you already know TensorFlow, that's good. And it's not the only algorithm that we can use to do here. But TensorFlow is a package from Google, again, which you can use to create some models related to neural networks and even non-neural networks. Now, this is a sample model here. So we have defined two variables, xs and ys, which actually contains the data which we want to analyze, right? Now, if you see the bottom part, now after we define the data, now we create a model, just 3 lines. Now, what it is doing internally is it is coming up with a neural network and it is trying to figure out, can I figure out somehow what's happening with this data? Now, it will take some time due to the iterative process that exists that it implements within itself. For example, in this case, we are using an optimization algorithm called stochastic gradient descent. Now, there are several alternatives. This is just to show you an example. Now, some of us, especially, I don't know, maybe in engineering M1 subject or some other subject, we would have studied at least in +2, +1 gradient descent and other techniques. So there is a lot of math from different areas, which generally is part of the actual machine learning, what we do in real time, in the real world, right? So you get to have math from linear algebra, probability and statistics, multivariate calculus. Now, what we are trying to do essentially here is, can I figure out using a neural network, can I build a model which could figure out this particular equation? Now, and this does in a iterative fashion. So if you could see screen on the right, initially it would, let's say, start with something called y equal to 10x plus 10, assuming taking 10 randomly. It will be incorrect. And it will, as it iterates over the data, now, maybe after some time, after 50 iterations or 40 iterations, it would change its decision to, let's say, maybe it's not 10x plus 10, it could be 5x plus 5, right? Now, after some time, like let's say 50 epochs, it would be able to figure out 3x plus 1, but it will still continue to execute so that to know whether the algorithm has finally converged or not. Or in other words, did we reach to a stable solution which is good enough for us? Okay. Now, after that, we have a model in place and we could try it with new values now. See, what we just did was, we gave two vectors, two variables which has this data, right? And we created a model. Now, we need not to worry about what is this keras and what is this sequential. This is just to show you and especially for the students, to get a glimpse of how a machine learning code, at least some code, let's say, right, how it would look like when you are actually coding, right? Apart from, you would have probably seen linear regression very commonly because that's how people generally start. And I wanted to show you this because you could do it in several ways. This is one of the way. Now we might want to send 10 as the input, and can I predict what is the output? Now, obviously, we know from this equation that it is 31, but this model would be able to predict it, right? And it need not to be an exact function. It could be, it could be image, it could be text. All it takes, several machine learning techniques, what it does essentially is take the image, convert into some factor, some format in some, n-dimensional space. By that I mean in some like vector space, you could represent it, and then work according to the problem we are trying to solve, right? Now, this is a very brief, short introduction to why machine learning, why we should do actually machine learning, right? What is machine learning? You would definitely get it through so many books. Now, why we are trying to do is we are trying to figure out, instead of manually defining all the rules, instead of trying to figure out where is the object in an image in thousands of or millions of images, can I write a program which can automatically learn from the data? Given I have enough data, can I automatically learn? And given new data, can I actually figure out, can the algorithm actually predict that? All right. So I'll pause here for a second. If you have any questions, I'll take them up before I explain few definitions.
We will take at the end.
Sure. Okay, sir. Sure. That also works for me. Awesome. Now, typically, this is one last slide for the introduction of machine learning. Typically, we would see, why am I showing this screenshot from the scikit-learn package from the Python is that this is one of the libraries from Python, which contains so many it provides several mechanisms, several functions, you can say, to build so many machine learning models. So if somebody starts working in machine learning right now, you can choose R, you can choose Python. If you are choosing Python, this would be one of the package you would come across. And what ideally you would see, right? You would see something called, like say, classification problems, for example, to begin with. Now, what it simply means is that can I identify some object to which category it belongs? For example, if you have handwritten images, given an image, can I identify what is the handwritten image in it? Now, the regression, as the name suggests, right? Can I predict a continuous valued attribute? So if you want to predict, let's say, stock price of ITC tomorrow, again, it could be complicated. There could be several complications within it. It could be completely seen in a different way, but can I predict it or not? Or given, let's say, for example, given, let's say, number of ice creams that are sold, can I predict the temperature? Maybe it's irrelevant, but I mean, maybe it's not a good problem, but we could still do that if we want to do it, right? Now, clustering is something, if you give me data, can we group them automatically into different groups? Why do we want to do that? Because imagine, for example, you have given me demographic data of, let's say, Andhra, the state of Andhra. Now, probably we would want to create a new sort of clustering, right? Maybe not according to districts, but probably according to a new, let's say, maybe probably the area which they are working in, or the income they are getting, or what they usually buy. So there could be different ways, different things we can do it. Now, similarly, we have other problems: dimensionality reduction, model selection, pre-processing are some of the steps we generally do while modeling something. Now, this is a good place if you want to start in machine learning. This is a good place to start. Try to use the scikit-learn package, and you will see a lot of simple algorithms which you can utilize from day one. All right. Now, this is a very quick intro to get you an idea about why you should be using machine learning, and what is, if you want to start with it, what is the place you can start at, right? Now, till now, whatever we have seen till now might not be new for anyone who has been working in machine learning for some time. Those are very basic things. So now I'll try to, as Satish sir has already given intro about me. I work in the retail industry for a company called Walmart. And before jumping into the applications, I'll give you a little bit more detailed intro regarding the kind of work I do now and the company. Now, if you have not heard about Walmart, Walmart is a retail company, which is, you can say, similar to Amazon, similar to Reliance. Reliance stores you go to, we have more here. And Walmart is the biggest retail company in the world right now. It has been the biggest from quite some time, and we all know very well during these COVID times, if there is one thing we all definitely wanted to do, at least in the lockdown period, the one thing we want to go do in the morning is go out and get our groceries and all the stuff we want, right? That is the most important thing which everybody has been doing since last 1 year. So there is no doubt. It might look like, probably just buying an item, but it's the most important, one of the most important thing in our life to have these products, right? Sorry, there is some background noise, I think. Now, in Walmart as a company, we have e-commerce, we have stores. To give you an idea of Walmart, we have roughly 5,000 plus stores in the US, and Walmart operates within around 28 countries. And overall, we have around, you can say, around roughly 11,000 to 12,000 stores. Now, in case if you have not heard of it, people who are in Visakhapatnam, probably some of you might know there is a store called Best Price in Vizag. Best Price is a wholesale store which actually belongs to Walmart. It's named as Best Price there. We have 20 to 25 such stores in India. Now, apart from that, Flipkart, I'm sure many of you would know it. Flipkart is an e-commerce company, right? Now, Walmart owns Flipkart, 86% of it. And so due to that, it also owns Myntra, PhonePe. So fundamentally in India, if you are not aware of Walmart, but you might have been aware of Flipkart, PhonePe, Myntra. So all these companies fall under the radar of Walmart, apart from with several other companies in other countries. Now, okay, let's jump into the applications. Now, in retail, I want to give a quick introduction about what kind of problems we generally solve. I won't be able to definitely walk you through all these things. So I'll choose one or two. I have chosen one or two out of these applications, and I'll try to focus on them, and I'll also take questions. And if you have any questions about how to solve certain kind of problem in machine learning, I'll try to answer those questions in practice. Right. Now, first thing is demand forecasting. I'm sure everybody, as the name sounds intuitive, right? For example, let's take one product, Horlicks, right? Can I forecast how many Horlicks I'm going to sell in next, let's say, 3 months? Now, if I am a store manager, why do I want to do this? I want to do it because I want to know how many Horlicks bottles I'm going to sell, and I also need to plan the price of it. I also, okay, as a fun fact, just as a matter of fun fact, it's not that in every country there is a fixed retail price. In general, we go to our store and we see that, okay, this product is worth 100 rupees MRP, and then we see some discount of 5 rupees, and we see that we will buy it for 95 rupees, right? Now, in reality, it's not the case in many countries. So what you will see in many countries is that it's up to the stores to decide, or it's up to the e-commerce to decide what is the price of that product. Now, this will make things very competitive, because now in India, if Amazon or Flipkart has to sell a product, both of them has a upper bound of 100 rupees. Now, they can sell it probably at, let's say Flipkart sells at 95, Amazon will sell at 94, Flipkart again reduces 1 rupee, and they can keep on going down until probably till 90, but they cannot decrease further. Now, that's not the case, because there is no maximum price, maximum fixed price or market retail price as such. People can, it's up to the stores to decide it up. It's up to the company to decide what price it keeps. If we keep a high price, people will not come and buy. If we keep a low price, we might end up losing money compared to the cost at which we have obtained the product, right? Okay, awesome. Now, so we want to forecast the demand. That is one of the common problem we want, because for every product, like I said, we have 12,000 stores. What it means is we sell millions of products. So Walmart is making 500, more than 500, roughly $560 billion every year as revenue, which is highest, which is the largest in the world. That's why it's a Fortune 1 company. Now imagine how many products we need to sell in order to get that kind of revenue. Now it's a millions of products and we can't manually process all those. And Walmart gets all these products from almost 100 countries, including India, right? Which requires us to predict the demand, identify what prices we need to keep, and identify the optimal prices that we want to have in the stores. And assortment. Assortment means what kind of products, the catalog we carry in the stores or in the e-commerce, right? And supply chain, the logistics, what trucks to send, how many trucks to send, should we bring the stock today or tomorrow? Inventory, how much how much stock we should keep in the inventory, because it could be the case that if I keep apples, right, simply for 3 days in the stock, if I bring too many, they'll get spoiled. So we don't want that to happen, right? Similarly, out of stock recommendation. If something goes out of stock, can I, or rather than somebody going to the aisle, shelf which we see in the stores and figuring out should I order it or not, how much to order, can we automatically do that? So all these problems, advertisements to customers, you get a lot of advertisements, right? When you Google something, you will start immediately seeing the advertisements in Google or Amazon or somewhere. Now that is part of advertisements. Marketplace, where sellers and buyers can meet on that particular platform, or like different people can meet, but generally sellers are the guys who uses it. Now you search in the e-commerce websites, adapt according to the customers, right? So there are different applications in retail, so many of them which I could not cover here, obviously, but these are some of the traditional problems which generally any retail company, no matter Walmart or not, would come across. All right. So I'll take up, certainly it would be boring for you as well if I walk you through what all these means, but let me take you through a couple of case studies. Let's begin with pricing. Now, if there is one thing when we go to a store or e-commerce website, that along with the product, that's something which we would see is price. And especially in countries like India, we are highly, at least most of us, if not everybody, are highly sensitive to the price. So we would buy a product if and only if it is at the right price according to me or you, right? When we want to buy a product, if we feel too much, we have enough patience, right, to wait until 1 month to buy. Let's say we'll wait for the 10% decrease or 20% decrease, and we will then buy it. Now it's important for a retail company to figure out the strategy for the pricing of these products. See, we are not pricing one product or 10 products. We are pricing millions of products, and we can't do it manually. And we have to come up with algorithms, machine learning algorithms, given the historical data we have in the stores and in the e-commerce. Can we come up with prices for these products using the ML algorithms? Now that's the problem we are trying to solve here. Now, while doing so, we come across several key challenges. And I'll walk you through a couple of them. Now, if you go to a store, you will see several boards like this, right? Let me show you a different picture. Okay, so it's now this is a very simple picture to understand. If you go to Big Bazaar or any other store in India, it looks very simple for us, right? We go to a store, grab the things we want, probably mangoes, pomegranate, whatever groceries or other things we want, and we always see there is a sticker, right, that is sticked onto a shelf, like it will be saying 10 rupees, and they will strike it off and they will show that it is 8 rupees, and you will be thinking, oh, it's decreased, the price has decreased, and we will try to buy it. Now it's true, the price has decreased compared to the maximum price at which people generally sell it. Now, why am I showing this picture is because in retail, price is one of the most important factor, and customers are the most important people. And when they come to the store, we want to give them much cheaper price, as low as we can. At the same time, give many other benefits. I mean, benefits in the sense more from the experience side, like a better shopping experience, not probably the points and other things comes. Some companies does that, but generally we want to give better shopping experience, right? Now, if you can see at this right side where this lady is actually searching for taking some product, right? There is some price which we also see in India in general, right? Here it says 98 cents, and the other product just beside it says $1.42. Or now, why am I showing this? Typically, if you go on a first day when the product has arrived, you will see this. For apparel, especially for clothes, you will see that this is new products. These are new products, and they will not give discount on those items, right? Fresh items. Now, this, if you see these prices, these are fresh item prices. So this is a fresh item price. Now somebody has come up with this price through machine learning algorithm. But if you see on the left side, it says rollback. Now what is it? You see there is an 82 cent mark, and below that you see that it is discounted and it is given 68 cents. Now we could have given 30 cents, 20 cents also. What does it mean? We would have acquired it at 45 cents, just as an example. Giving it at 20 cents, we will lose the money. 82 cents will give a lot of profit, but it's okay to sell at 68 cents as well because of several reasons. Now, why? Because the product will get, spoiled with time, especially in groceries. Maybe there is too much stock, there is so much supply, and there is not enough demand. Or just to give, probably most of the times what will happen is maybe we are not really looking at the profit or the money, but we are looking to attract more customers to step into the store or into an e-commerce website, and price is one of the crucial factor for them to shop, right? And we are very price sensitive, and sometimes we get so overexcited and try to buy it even though we really don't want the product, right? All right, so if you see this left side rollback, what it's called is typically we reduce the price for 18 days or 20 days, or let's say 3 months, in general 3 months. Or now, how do we figure out whether it is 30 days or 90 days? How do we figure out, should I keep 68 cents for 10 days and then decrease it to 56 cents, following by 36 cents? Because we know these products will become old. We cannot keep the same price forever. We have to decrease the price. We can if we apply rules, we can use probably 10-day rule to reduce the price. But we want an algorithm to come up with that, right? We don't want to do it manual way. Now, not only reduction of prices, you will see a lot of times when you go to stores, clearance, right? They will give they say this is 100 rupees, but we will give it for 30 rupees. Now there is a reason behind it, because why? Probably in this picture, these apparels are last year's stock, or maybe Captain America movie had come 2 years ago and nobody is really buying it, and we don't want to keep this in the store, because keeping in the store, it is occupying part of the shelf, and we are not able to put another product which could ideally get sold, right? So we are it's a cost to have a product in the store which we are not able to sell. It's not as easy as in e-commerce, because it's a new page. We are keeping a new product. If nobody watches that product in the e-commerce site, nobody really cares about it. But in a store, if you are keeping it in the store, it occupies someplace. Now, probably at this point, you might be wondering, are stores really relevant? Maybe why not e-commerce? Everybody is moving to e-commerce. Definitely, e-commerce is one of the major player, but from the revenues perspective, stores are still the bigger ones. If e-commerce is creating, let's say, $100 billion in revenue, if e-commerce is creating $100 billion, stores would create probably $300 billion or $400 billion. I mean, at a larger number. Now, why am I showing this number? So in the previous slide, the application I wanted to share with you was, I will walk you through the math part of it, but we want to figure out what is the optimal price that we could sell the product for, and what is the optimal time at which we have to reduce the price so that we can maximize the number of units that we can sell, and at the same time reduce the costs that we need to incur, right? Now, if you look at the same problem in e-commerce, it's pretty much, things are similar. If I have gone to walmart.com, for example, and I searched for clearance, similar to the slide you have seen. And there are, on the right side, there are few products that are marked as clearance, and you can see the price of it. On the left side, you will see the actual product is $96 and it is slashed to $25. Now, when I searched for clearance, there is a search operation that is going on. Some sort of a product matching algorithms are running behind, which has to tag this word clearance to several products through some natural language processing based algorithms. Now, this is one of the complicated stuff, right? People type different things, but we want to figure out what it is, and we have to map it to the products and show the right recommendations. If we are having the product, but if we are unable to show, now that's not a good thing for us, right? So the moment we type a product, a lot of natural language processing goes behind, try to identify the products, come up with the best recommendations, and show the product. And now, if you just see this one screen, I want to show you I want to walk you through what kind of things go on in this one screen of this TV, right? For example, or projector screen. You can see a search happening at the top. You can see there are star marks, which we generally see when we shop on Amazon. There is reviews, and there is a price. So there is some algorithms running behind to predict this price. And to make sure this is in stock and not market as out of stock, which we usually see when we try to buy these mobiles in flash sales, especially here, right? So we want to keep it in stock, and we also need to manage. Here it says free 2-day delivery, right? So we need to manage the supply chain. We need to take the address of the customer, somehow map it with the supply chain we have, and figure out when to send, how many to send. We cannot send just one item with a vehicle. We have to pack several things. So we have to optimize how many we can send. So if you look at the words I'm using, we are doing a lot of predictions, a lot of natural language processing, a lot of optimizations in order to run this entire setup, right? Now, okay, now let's look. These are all from the user perspective, but what goes behind the scene? Now, there is a lot of math we can go through, but I have just kept very minimal math here so that it's very easy to understand even for anyone who sees these kind of things, new applications newly, right? Now, as I said, demand forecasting is one of the major application, along with trying to figure out the optimal price. Now, we want to forecast the demand accurately. We want to find optimal price of the product, which maximize demand while satisfying budget constraints. What does it mean? It means I have budget, for example, let's say 10,000 rupees I have. I'll go to somebody in, let's say some big bazaar in Vizag. I'll tell to the store manager, hey, you have 10,000 rupees. You can reduce the prices of the products. So you can you can try to quickly sell them off so that we can bring in new products. Now we can do that for every store, right? And we are trying to do the same thing here with the ML algorithm, machine learning algorithm. Now, what kind of data we look at? Because data is the most crucial thing when we try to create the algorithm. So if we just give a thought about it, probably some of the data we could utilize to solve this problem is obviously the transaction data to start with. Transactions data implies, let's say if Satish sir has gone to one store in Big Bazaar, like in Vizag, and if he buys, whatever items are being bought, they are getting recorded, right? And we get a bill saying that this item has been bought and so quantity, and this is the total price. And also on the bill, you will see that there is a price and there is a discounted price, and you will see total savings that you get across the basket. If you buy 10 products, we call it as a basket, for example. And across these 10 products, you will see a reduction of price and there is some savings. Now, here is the interesting thing. That is transactional data. But what else could be collected at the same time from the user? If you are a member, or at least if there is now, if you are a member, it is straightforward. We know your name, we know your basic details, like what is your interests, right? Because you are an Amazon Prime member, for example. You would have bought 10 products in the last 1 year, and we know all the time what you have bought, and it's easy for us to figure out probably what you would like, and it's easy to come up with a recommendation. Not easy, but we can create some recommendation algorithm which can recommend products, right, which are of interest for you. Now, transaction data is one, event data and time. Now, COVID itself is a big event. We know none of us are going out to shop for dresses, even though it's some sort of some festival, for example. We are not going to CMR or some central and trying to buy clothes, right? We can still go, but the idea is if it is Pongal, Sankranti, or some other festival, Dashara, Diwali, we try to buy more apparel, right? We buy new dresses, and we don't do that on a normal day. Compared to a normal day, it would be 10 times more on a festival time, right? Especially in US, it's during Christmas time, Thanksgiving, you will see a lot of people buying a lot of products. So event data. Event data means, is there a festival? Now, what is the date of it? What is the time of? Mostly it would be the entire day. And at what time we are seeing a lot of sales? Is it in the morning? Is it in the evening? Is it in the afternoon? Or is it weekend, or is it weekend versus weekday? Now, weekend, it's obvious. It's not obvious now, but generally, previously, when we used to go to theaters, unfortunately, which we don't do right now, but if you go to theaters, and especially in cities, you would see that on Saturday, Sunday, the prices of tickets are very high, right? In movie theaters, people call it a surge pricing. If you are booking an Uber, if there is huge demand compared to the number of cabs available in your area, you will see that the price is increased due to the surge pricing algorithms people implement. Now, obviously, people will come to stores more on a weekday or weekend, or especially when people get salaries. I'm sure this is June month beginning. Some of you, especially the faculty, would have received salaries, and you would have gone for grocery shopping, even if you have not stepped out now, but you would have bought a lot of items, right, for home delivery. So it happens in the beginning of the week or beginning of month. Next, we will have the price of the products, affinity data. Some of you who has taken a course on data mining or similar courses would have studied about association rule mining, such kind of techniques, like trying to figure out frequent item sets, which people buy together, right? So the relation between, for example, if you are buying a mobile, you would also probably like to buy the case of it or the screen guard too, so that your mobile is protected, right? So these are the items which are having high affinity with each other. So when we have millions of products, can we figure out these products? But again, for finding the optimal price, these are important, because you will always see in a website that at the bottom of the screen they will show, if you buy these three together, 100 rupees is less, right? Something like that. So these are the FAN products. What are substitute? Substitute data is like, you go to the shelf in a store, you will see KitKat, you will see Dairy Milk, you will see five star, or so and so forth. Now, one person could be attracted to Dairy Milk, one person could be attracted to 5-star, and so on, right? Now, you can consider these products as competitor kind of products, right? Now, if I am selling, let's say, iPhone at 10,000 discount compared to OnePlus phone, probably some people who would like to buy OnePlus can move to iPhone because of the reduction in the price. So these are substitute data. So why I'm saying this, if we reduce the price of iPhone simply without considering the other things, I will sell more iPhones, but I will lose the sales on OnePlus phone, right? So we cannot crash the sales of one product while trying to increase the other. So we need to consider the substitutes. Promotions. The promotions are the ones which I informed earlier, like give an offer, give a discount. You will get an email saying that you have a special discount, coupon codes, all those things, right? You can take all this information, all the past historical data of, let's say, last 3-4 years, and you can come up with some beautiful algorithms to figure out the demand, also the optimal prices. Now, what kind of algorithms you will see if you are in industry, right? Facebook has a demand, some time series modeling algorithms. It's a kind of a bundle, but you will see from Facebook there is called Profit. BSTS, it stands for Bayesian Structural Time Series, is one of the technique, which is a time series, but it has Bayesian flavor in it. By that I mean, if you have done linear regression sort of a problems before, you would see that the parameters, the beta is, for example, if you see below the volume equation, right? Alpha into price power beta. Now, alpha is a parameter, right? Now, in this case, assuming ignoring what transformations we do, now we would come up with single value for this alpha. If you remember the previous equation, the simple that I have shown, 3x plus 1, 3 is a parameter there, which we have figured out using the algorithm. Now, you would figure out such point estimates, single values, what we call it, in the algorithms like regression, linear regression and all. When you're adding Bayesian flavor to it, these are no more single values, but they have some distributions associated with them, right? They do not take one value anymore, and they follow some distribution. Now, obviously, even though it is time series data, you can still pass, event data as some feature and come up with boosting algorithms like XGBoost. Now, the idea of my intention behind sharing these names is not that to bombard you with technique names. Probably some of you already knows this. The idea is to create an awareness of different algorithms you would see in the industry. Now, if you want to step up a bit and if you want to use deep learning algorithms, there are networks called long short-term memories, LSTMs in short. So these are some kind of some of the models which from the deep learning side, along with people add encoder, decoders, attention layers, all those things, depending on the problem they solve, right, to come with all these predictions. Now, these are true not just for demand prediction. These are true for any prediction. Now, if the data is a time series data, by that I mean if the data is have some sort of relation in itself. For example, if I want to know what is the number of Horlicks I will sell today, and yesterday if I have sold 5, I can probably estimate today also I'll sell 5 or 4, right? So there is a relation between yesterday's data and today. People call it as autocorrelation. Now, that's one thing you can include. Now, keep a check on time. I'm sorry, I'll move on. Now, you could fit this equation using all these algorithms. If you are using a general time series equation, you would see equations like this. In the interest of time, again, I would not explain in detail, but a sample equation, right? If you want to, so this is what goes behind machine learning. If you are in retail industry, you would, even in academics, you will come up with these equations. We just try to implement them, and we try to fit the models. If the top graph shows that, okay, I have a graph of the sales of a product for the last 2 years, can I predict for the next year? So we used the data till 28 ending, and then we predicted the sales of 2019. This is not a great prediction, but still, I just want to show you an example of how to do it, right? All right. Oh, okay, just another case study, just for a few minutes. Assortment. As the name suggests, what are the different kind of products we carry along, right? Now, I just took this screenshot from Flipkart. I searched for the mobile, and you see some of the mobiles that have come up is Realme, Samsung Galaxy, Motorola, so and so on. Now, if you think of this, probably I wanted Realme just as a hypothetical scenario, but looking at the other products just beside it, I might be tempted towards them as well. So which are called substitutes. Now, you might want to come up with a machine learning algorithm which kind of does identify these substitutes and price them accordingly. And do you want to show it on this page or not? Now, I chose one product, and on the left side, you could see complementary products that are being sold along with the mobile. And below, you see ratings and reviews. This is what we always do, right? So people post reviews. What we do, now we take these reviews, apply natural language processing algorithms. Now, nobody is going to directly rate what is the camera, battery, display, but depending on the reviews, can we come up with a rating for the camera? Now, if somebody who is interested in camera, who is interested in selfies, probably don't want to buy this phone. Again, I'm just making up. People can still buy. But looking at this rating, you might not want to do this, right? Now, how do we come up with? First, we want natural language processing algorithms to process on the reviews, then come up with some sort of a scoring algorithm to come up with these scores individually, separately, right? Now, this helps the user to know, is it really worth buying? Is the if you just want camera, you might not want to buy it. You might want to go with another phone, right? All right. Now, what else do? We do a lot of computer vision image. We take images of the retail products, and from this image, what kind of information can we extract, right? You take, for example, this product. It says fat-free. some sort of dietary information, the brand name, what is the flavor, classic ranch, dietary information again, fat free, what is the calories, 50 info, 50 calories, dietary info, again some 4.C13 ml it says at the bottom, so the size information. So we could take several, sometimes we don't get the description while we put it in the e-commerce site, but we want to generate it. Sometimes we don't have the images. Can we come up with the images or at least improve the quality of the images if we have not so good images, right? And so this is like some of the algorithms to identify the attributes from the products and figure out can we do better in the previous image, for example. Can we improve these images? Can we show more information? A lot of times we search for a product, there won't be reviews, there won't be descriptions about it, but we try to come up with the descriptions at least from the images or other way, right? Now, like I said, I was talking about association, like substitute products. If you have seen through association rule mining, probably you would have known it already to a certain extent. But like I said, apart from that, because we can't really process all the transactions because of millions of transactions that happen, no matter how much we subset it, we take natural language processing information, these images data, and then we combine all of those to figure out whether two products are similar or not, whether they are complementary or not, whether they are substitutes or not, right? Now, what else can we do? I'm just having a check on time. I hope, okay, it's 7. I'll try to finish. These are, what I'm showing you now is planograms. What does it mean? If we try to clean our house, we take almost the entire day or half a day and we get tired, right? Imagine a store with so many products, and if people have to arrange them, it's a very big task for them. Now, if people has to apply their own mind and figure out what we need to do, then it takes days to arrange all the products. What we do, we have images of the shelves, racks, we figure out those sizes, and we also take the dimensions of the products using the images or the descriptions that are available or the stats that are directly available in tabular format. We provide these diagrams to the stores. We come up with algorithms to figure out what products we can fit in and how to also fit in. So if you go to a store, people directly get these images. All they need to do is, okay, I have an aerial image here, for example. These are images generated from the algorithms. I have aerial. The store operations guy will just see that diagram. Okay, I need to put 4 aerials. And also these are 3D diagrams. If you see how many to put behind it, you don't want to see an empty shelf, right? We don't want to buy in an empty shelf. We feel less interest to buy from such shelves, right? So we also provide these diagrams. So you can see how much of computer vision that will go into to come up with these planograms. Also, if there is something product missing, if it is out of stock, there will be cameras at the top, some IoT devices, you can say, or different sensors, and they will give automatically a notification to the store manager to come back and fill it. Nobody manually needs to go and check it, right? Now, people still go and check. I'm saying like these are some of the things we still do in some of the stores. All right. So I know given the amount of time I have, I wanted to keep it short and to talk about the applications. Now, before I show you some non-retail applications, I'll maybe not so many, but I'll take any questions if you have, since we are already close to 7 or 7:05.
Now it's open to all. You can have a question and answer session.
Yeah, feel free to ask, because we daily go to stores, we daily shop on e-commerce, and you might not hear machine learning applications except the traditional ones which you generally hear in retail area and other robotic areas. But a lot of stuff goes behind the scenes to make your shopping experience comfortable.
If someone asks, then if you have doubts.
Yeah. Even if you don't want to specifically talk about retail, you can generally ask in general about machine learning in the industry from the application point of view. Probably I'll try to answer if I can.
My side, I have one question. Vamshi, you want to ask any question? Vamshi, you can unlock. One second. Now you people can.
Good evening, Dr. Satish.
Hi,
Hello.
Vanshi, please. Hi, Dr.
Yeah.
Vanshi, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Hello, is it
specific,
audible,
but
clear?
what's
Yes.
the application, sir? Sunil, sir,
Hello.
is there any possibility of some application related to this COVID issue?
Absolutely.
Because recommendations related to the patients or doctors regarding, see, we need a lot of information that is essential to join even to the hospital or getting some medication.
Yes.
Is there any such applications are available? Or
Yes, there are. Yes. So there are actually. Okay, I'll divide this question into try to answer this question in two parts. Now, I'll talk about an application which we actually did. Now, we have this vaccination program going on, right? Now, again, we have not done this in India, but in US when the vaccination is going on, because here we don't have all the permissions. But what are the optimal locations in the entire country where the vaccination needs to be done? For example, today you will go to a hospital here or a vaccination center. Now, how do I come up with the place where I need to set up a vaccination center so that people will actually, it's not so far for them to come, and also I can expect more crowd to come. Now here, typically we see in general, like there is one street filled with hospitals or different areas filled with hospitals, we end up going there, right? But in Walmart stores, almost we have done the vaccination program, and along with the scheduling algorithms for the people, slotting algorithms, based on the Google Maps information, the routes people need to take. We actually identified these locations where people can go for the vaccination, and actually several thousands of people have got it done. Now, with respect to India in general, right? The medical supplies, because Walmart also has pharmacy. Walmart is not selling only groceries or the shopping items. Walmart has pharmacy, Walmart has petrol bunks, Walmart has furniture. Now, in a single store, if you go to a Walmart store, you will see tires, you will see vehicle related things, you will see petrol bunks, you will see pharmacy. Again, pharmacy is a sensitive area where people do not want to disclose what they're buying and other things. So it's a sensitive area. That's why we generally don't show when we show it. But we keep in stock, for example, now the medicine, again, not here, but we need to procure all the medicine for the people, the number of masks, enabling these supply chain, right? Now, considering the weather data, we actually took the data of some of the universities, which predicted number of cases. For example, today you will see that people will say that number of cases will go down by August or September. So we take this data, we also feed into these machine learning algorithms. There will be some sort of error within it, but we procure the vaccines, we procure the like medicines, keep in those pharmacy stores and other things.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually,
nice,
there is a lot of stuff we did in the last 1 year because we know it has disrupted everything, right? And some of those things are sensitive, and some of them are fine. We can disclose some of them.
Actually, I got why I am asking is I am trying for searching for what we call oxygen concentrators. So a lot of confusion is there in that. Which one is supposed to buy? What is the respect to rates and how it will work? We cannot believe the people who are giving some details about that particular oxygen concentrator. Doctors told me that don't take everything as a consideration. Sometimes oxygen levels cannot be controlled with some of the machines. So in such case, is there any perfect algorithmic aspect has been given such that people can easily understood this is the most reliable product to purchase?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So again, I will not be specifically able to answer exactly about oxygen concentrators in general because of my lack of knowledge on the features of it. But in general, if we look at the description of the product, there are algorithms to rate the product based on the brand and loyalty. And I do understand, especially these kind of products are being sold too many now, and a lot
Yeah.
of them are new products, right? So we don't have historical data about those enough data also. If you look at Flipkart or Amazon site, maybe they are not even eligible to sell, probably, even though they're eligible to deliver for some people.
Yes.
But people do try to figure out. But again, lack of having less data means we are building less accurate algorithms for those things.
Nice, sir. Thanks. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. I thank Dr. Satish sir also for arranging a nice presentation this evening. Because every day we are sitting in home and taking maybe 1 or 2 classes to the students, but getting some clarity or thought-provoking presentation by you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Satish sir, if possible,
thank
arrange such events even weekly once. We may be somewhat getting some energy. Otherwise, every time thinking about negative type of the information and data, instead of as a teacher, we need such a boosting knowledge.
Sure. Sure, Dr. Vamshi. I think definitely we'll go ahead with these kind of sessions regularly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Dr. Suvarna wants to talk, I think. Dr.
Sure.
Suvarna.
Hi, Sunil. It was a wonderful presentation, throwing
Hi,
light
sir.
on many things. Yeah, very good evening. As usual, you rocked. So here I have a question like how TensorFlow with a Raspberry Pi. Did you, we are doing a small networking project. So
Yes.
can our TensorFlow help in connection with Raspberry Pi? Do you have any idea about it?
The answer is yes and no, sir, because it depends on what you're using the Raspberry Pi for. You can use it.
For estimation of a particular location for localization, I'm gathering all the data sets of nearby localization. To my problem is identifying localization of a particular. It may be a bot or it may be a mobile, whatever it is. So
Got it.
yeah. So can we? You go. This is my thing is localization.
Okay, got it, sir. I'll try to answer based on what I understood.
Okay.
Raspberry Pi in general has lesser resources, right? Lesser capacity CPU,
Yes,
lesser
yes. Yeah, exactly.
pen drive or memory card which you insert in it.
That is
Now,
why we want to
TensorFlow in general is a library which has a lot of deep learning models to work with, which generally process huge amount of data. Having said that, it is important. If you look at all these IoT devices, they will have something similar to Raspberry Pi, and
Yes.
a lot of processing needs to happen at the same place. Now,
Okay.
it works in different ways. Raspberry Pi might be your initial processing client, but
Yeah.
there could be cloud on the background where
Yes,
a
we
model
are
had
using
to
Azure Cloud for that.
Awesome, sir. So your model would have been probably trained on the Azure cloud, the data that is there on the Azure cloud, and now the model can be placed on this Raspberry Pi, and you can try to do the predictions when so if the sensor that is attached to Raspberry Pi, for example, picks up new temperature. Now you already have a model version, pickle file or something in the Raspberry Pi. It can quickly give a prediction. And do some actions to give some actions to, let's say if it is AC, it can ask it to decrease the temperature. Now, yeah, you can build a simpler model which can still be trained on Raspberry Pi, but generally training the model will be on the bigger servers, and predictions can be placed on the Raspberry Pi.
That is what, because I have not used TensorFlow. I just want to relate them. Is it possible or not? Because we are only
Yeah.
that is what. Okay.
It's possible.
Thank
So you
you.
can use it for prediction purpose absolutely, because Raspberry Pi you can install any OS and Python you can install as usual, and along with TensorFlow library. So that is possible.
Okay. Thank you, Sunil. I will just catch you up. I'll just put my thing what I am doing it, so you can guide me. And it was a wonderful talk. Thank you, Satish sir, and IEEE platform for arranging such type of wonderful talks, which will be further benefited. And is this talk recorded, sir?
Yes. It was
Okay.
recorded and we will place, if permitted by Sunil, we'll place online also.
Because at least our students today, final year students, are doing a lot of projects in this particular segment, Sunil. So
Yes.
it will be a benefit for them. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Any other people have any doubts?
Yeah.
So you can continue. I think you want to show something else.
Yeah. Since it's mostly retail side, let me try to. I mean, just to give you, maybe some of you would have already known, but let me give you some cool applications which you probably would have heard of. Now, this website called thispersondoesnotexist.com is a generative adversarial network. Actually, this site is this is from the StyleGAN by NVIDIA. Now, why am I showing this? Because this particular person doesn't exist, as the name suggests, right? Now, this is some image that is generated by the algorithm, deep learning algorithm. Now, you can keep on refreshing this page, and this algorithm keeps on giving you some new pictures. And it's very difficult to differentiate whether, if I give this image, it's very difficult to differentiate whether this is a real person or a fake person. But this is a fake person who doesn't really exist. Hopefully doesn't exist, at least we hope so. It generally doesn't exist and generated by the algorithm by several like a lot of processing going behind the scenes, right? So you can see how beautiful these images are, very close to the real people, and it's very difficult to distinguish. Now I don't know how many of you follow David Warner on Instagram. You would have seen his videos dancing around with Allu Arjun's face or Mahesh Babu face or somebody else, right? Now, similarly, you would find out Obama videos and other deep fake videos, which I don't know if you go to Google and figure out deep fake videos, there are several deep fake videos which are generated. So you could visualize, you could see Obama saying things which he has not actually said, right? It's a double-edged sword. It's an invention, good invention when it is kept for good use, and it can be on the other way around as well. But it's a great invention. Similarly, there are several algorithms. If you type again music generation using algorithms. Now today paintings by AI, if you just type it, you will see that algorithms actually starts doing paintings now, and you will be able to see paints that are being done by, if you see these paints, right, are by some of the algorithms. Again, I might not be correct in this particular website, but generally there is some algorithms which are doing it. Also, of course, driverless cars, all those reinforcement learning based algorithms, people are working on those things. You can see Tesla videos that are going behind the scenes. Now you can see if you're typing in Gmail, you will start getting these recommendations even before completing the sentences, that you can complete the sentence. What is the grammar corrections, all those things, right? So there is a lot of stuff, interesting applications in ML. If you read about on the deep learning side or the reinforcement learning side, these transfer learnings, all those things, you can use some existing models and utilize them. A lot of interesting work is going around. There are some great research papers and from the natural language. And today, I don't know if you can see, but if you look at Microsoft OneNote and if you type something, it can be converted directly to Telugu, and you can actually see some voice behind, like some robotic voice speaking in Telugu, reading the content. So you have typed in English, it would convert it into Telugu, and some voice would speak out in Telugu, right? So there are several interesting applications, machine translations, other things. Some of you might be working on them. I wish you good luck for who are working, and all those who are new. There is several exciting applications in this field. Feel free to explore and have some fun. All right, I just showed one example here. I think it should be fine for now, but there are several other applications which which I named some of them, right? You can go through music generations, paintings, so many other things.
Yeah, really, what you are saying exactly right, and what Suvarna also explained, that So many graduate students are willing to do projects on these machine learning AI kind of applications, all these things. Really, these, I think your suggestions and your inputs are really help them for initiating their journey. If anyone wants to interact or if we have any doubts, you can express. If not, we'll close this session. Right. So, really, Sunil, thanks for your time once again. You've given what exactly happening in this retail segment, how machine learning algorithms are using for retail places. Really, we know, but still. We don't know the challenges what you are facing and how you are overcoming with these machine learning algorithms, all this stuff. Most of the students having idea on so many algorithms, but they don't know how to use that algorithms for different scenarios. That is what
Yes.
the point they want to understand. So I think this session helped them for these kind of issues. So I once again thank you for your wonderful lecture on this uh, machine learning concepts. I thank once again, and I thank the members who participated today and interacted with this expert. Definitely, I think he's going to extend his help for any student or student kind projects or any professional members stuck with some other challenges. I think he's ready to help them. We will share. I think if anyone wants his mail ID or contact details, definitely I will share with you so that you can contact him directly and you can interact with your problems. I really thank you, Sunil.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you each and everyone for being patient on this more than 1 hour session and having me here.
No, it was happened just like that. It was started and you showed so many colorful pictures and you given a very wonderful talk. A 1 hour talk is like just like that. It was happened. You please.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you each and everyone once again.
So definitely we'll share the next event details regularly in IEEE groups. So whenever you have a chance, you please attend for all the events and you can make use of that. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. Be safe.
Thank you. Be safe.
Bye, Sunil. Bye bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you.